In the dimly lit Situation Room deep beneath Washington, D.C., a diverse group of world leaders and their advisors watched the alien transmission in stunned silence. The message, delivered in a harsh, clicking language, had been translated mere minutes before the meeting. General Marcus Flynn, his face hard and eyes focused, broke the silence. "We have less than 72 hours to respond to their demands. Tribute, or they will begin a cleansing of our planet. It's a classic domination tactic." President Alan Carter rubbed his forehead, looking from the screen to Marcus. "And if we don't comply?" "They seem to think non-compliance isn't an option," Marcus replied. Next to him, Dr. Liu Zheng, the lead scientist from the Space Research Agency, chimed in. "Their technology is beyond anything we've seen. Our best bet is to stall them while we prepare." Marcus nodded at Leo, then turned to the room. "We need a united front, now more than ever. This isn't just about the U.S. or any single nation, it's about all of humanity." The Russian delegate, Minister Ivankov, leaned forward. "What do you propose?" "A dual approach," Marcus explained. "Publicly, we agree to negotiate. This should buy us some time. Meanwhile, we prepare our defenses and look for a chink in their armor." The Chinese representative, General Wei, drummed his fingers on the table. "And if they don't agree to negotiate?" "We'll have to be ready to defend ourselves," said Marcus sternly. "I propose we start planning for a potential conflict. We set up a combined task force, pooling our resources, technology, and information." President Carter nodded. "Marcus, I want you to lead this task force. Coordinate with all our allies, secure our systems, and start recruitment for additional manpower." "I'll need full clearance and access to all international data," Marcus stated, already mentally listing the first steps. "Granted," Carter confirmed. "We need the best minds working on this, regardless of nationality." General Wei raised an eyebrow. "And if the public finds out?" "We keep it under wraps as long as we can," replied Ivankov, his voice grim. "Panic won't help anyone." As the meeting adjourned, Marcus lingered behind, pulling up the alien message again. The screen displayed the Xiphorian ship, sleek and menacing. Leo approached him, his expression pensive. "We've started analyzing the transmission signal. There's something odd about the modulation. It might be nothing, but it's a start," Marcus finished for him. "Good work, Leo. Let's dig deeper. Any anomaly might be the key to understanding their technology." "Exactly my thought," Leo replied, a spark of determination in his eyes. "I'll get the best cryptographers on it right away." As the others filed out, Marcus took a moment to steady himself. The weight of the world was on his shoulders, but he wasn't alone. With a team of the brightest and bravest from around the globe, he felt the first stirring of a plan forming. The Xiphorians might be powerful, but humans were cunning, and they would not go down without a fight. Under a shroud of utmost secrecy, Marcus Flynn initiated Operation Shieldbearer, the mobilization and fortification of Earth's defense fleet. Inside a covert command center, a global map glittered with dots and markers, representing Earth's military assets and personnel. Marcus, now the appointed commander of the International Task Force, scrutinized the layout with a critical eye. "Gather all available units to these key positions," Marcus instructed his deputy, Colonel David Harper, pointing to strategic locations on the map. "We need our forces distributed to cover major orbital paths and potential landing zones." Colonel Harper, a career military man with a knack for logistics, nodded as he took notes. "I'll coordinate with the EU and Asian sectors. The Russians are already mobilizing their fleet near the Arctic Circle for quick deployment." Marcus looked up, meeting Harper's gaze. "And the stealth prototypes? I want them ready and tested. If these Xiphorians have superior tech, we'll need every advantage we can get." Harper's lips tightened. "The prototypes are promising but still unstable. I'll push for expedited trials." Just then, Dr. Liu Zheng entered, clutching a stack of reports. "Marcus, we've made some headway on the signal analysis. It's not just communication, it's also a form of radar, highly advanced. We might be able to disrupt it." Marcus leaned forward, interested. "Disrupt their radar, and we blind them. Coordinate with the tech teams, Leo. This could be the edge we need." As the hours turned into days, bases around the globe became hives of activity. In a remote airbase in Nevada, test pilots took to the skies with the new stealth jets, pushing the experimental technology to its limits. In space, engineers aboard the ISS worked tirelessly, retrofitting satellites and drones with weapons and shields. Back on Earth, Marcus convened a meeting with his core command team, including Harper and Leo. The room was filled with the low murmur of urgent discussion as representatives from different countries reported in. "We've secured commitments from every member state of the UN Security Council," announced Harper. "Even the non-permanent members are offering resources." Marcus nodded, pleased with the progress but aware of the looming threat. "We need to talk about non-compliance protocols. If they start their attack and we're not fully ready—" A British admiral, Sir Geoffrey Bennett, interjected. "We have contingency plans for a scorched sky defense. It's a last resort, but if it comes to it, we can make Earth's orbit a no-go zone for any incoming hostiles." The suggestion hung heavy in the room. Marcus knew what it meant: sacrificing countless lives and infrastructure to save the planet. "Prepare the plans, but keep them classified. For now, our focus remains on readiness and stealth." As the meeting adjourned, Marcus stayed behind, poring over the latest satellite imagery of Zephyrian movements. The images showed a slow but steady buildup of alien forces at the edge of the solar system. Leo lingered by the door, hesitating. "Marcus, everyone's pushing hard, but there's worry, not just about whether we can win, but what happens next." Marcus met his gaze squarely. "We focus on the now, Leo. Ensure our planet's safety first. We'll deal with tomorrow when, if, it comes." Outside, the sun set over a world on the brink. Inside, Marcus and his team worked through the night, racing against time to unite a planet under the banner of survival. The weight of humanity's hope rested on their shoulders, readying to meet the unknown with defiance and determination. Marcus Flynn's plans for a calculated response were thrust into immediate action when the Zephyrians launched a surprise attack on Earth's lunar base. It was a critical hub for communication and surveillance, and its destruction could cripple human defenses. However, Marcus had anticipated such a move. The base had been evacuated and rigged with explosives. In the Situation Room, Marcus and his team watched the live feed from lunar orbit. As the Zephyrian fleet approached, Marcus issued the command, "Detonate." The explosion was massive, lighting up the dark side of the moon. Zephyrian ships, caught in the blast, were either destroyed or severely damaged. The room erupted into cautious cheers, but Marcus remained focused. "This is just the beginning. They'll retaliate. We need to be ready for a full-scale assault." Colonel Harper, standing beside Marcus, nodded. "Our fleet is on high alert. All units have been instructed to engage at maximum range. We'll harry their forces and keep them disoriented." As predicted, the Zephyrians quickly regrouped and launched a direct assault on Earth's orbital defenses. Marcus watched as squadrons of human fighters engaged the alien crafts. The battle was brutal. Despite their initial success, human forces were heavily outnumbered, and the Zephyrian technology was proving to be as formidable as feared. On the main screen, a live feed showed the intense space battle. Human ships maneuvered swiftly, dodging incoming fire while returning their own salvos. Marcus was in constant communication with the fleet commanders, issuing orders and adjusting tactics on the fly. "Focus fire on their command ship," Marcus instructed. "If we take out their leader, it may break their morale." Back on Earth, emergency protocols were in full effect. Cities were on lockdown, and civilians were moved to shelters. Despite the chaos, there was a unified front, as people across the globe supported the defense efforts in any way they could. In space, the tide of the battle began to shift. The human fleet, using guerrilla tactics, managed to isolate a portion of the Zephyrian fleet. Utilizing the debris field from the earlier moon explosion as cover, human pilots executed a series of hit-and-run attacks, whittling down the alien forces. Dr. Leo Zheng, monitoring the battle from his lab, found a breakthrough. "Marcus, we've managed to hack into one of their smaller ships. I'm sending you the override codes now. We can cause some of their ships to fire on each other." Marcus wasted no time distributing the codes to the fleet. "Use this advantage, but be discreet. We don't want them to realize what we've done until it's too late." As chaos ensued within the Zephyrian ranks, Marcus's team watched as several alien ships turned on each other, confused and malfunctioning. This disruption gave human forces a much-needed breather, allowing them to regroup and reinforce their positions. The battle raged on for hours, with Earth's defenders slowly gaining the upper hand. Marcus knew that this victory, though costly, was vital. It demonstrated not only their ability to defend Earth, but also their potential to go on the offensive. As the remaining Zephyrian ships retreated, Marcus leaned back in his chair, exhausted but resolute. "This isn't over," he murmured to those gathered around him. "They now know we're not the easy target they expected. Expect them to come back harder." With the immediate threat repelled, Marcus's focus shifted to reinforcing Earth's defenses and preparing for the next wave. The war for Earth's freedom had just begun, and Marcus Flynn was at the heart of it, steering humanity through its darkest hours towards a hope of victory. The aftermath of the initial victory was bittersweet. Earth's orbital defenses were battered, and the international fleet had suffered significant losses. Yet the spirit among the troops and the global population was defiantly high, fueled by the unexpected success against the Zephyrian vanguard. Marcus Flynn, however, remained gravely focused, aware that the real challenge lay ahead. In the Global Command Center, Marcus convened with his top advisors and military leaders from around the world. The holographic displays showed the movements of the Zephyrian fleet regrouping at the edge of the solar system, their numbers far greater than any previous estimates. "We held them off once. We can do it again," declared General Wei, his voice firm with resolve. Marcus nodded, but his eyes were wary. "We must assume they underestimated us before. This time they will come with full force. We need to strengthen every point of vulnerability and anticipate their strategies." Colonel Harper interjected, pointing at the display. "Our satellite network is compromised, and our communication lines are under constant threat. We've got to establish a more secure way to coordinate our defenses." Dr. Liu Zheng, who had been working closely with tech teams across the globe, added, "I propose a decentralized network of communication, smaller mobile command units that can operate independently if needed. It's harder to disrupt a moving target." Marcus considered this, then turned his attention to logistics. "Make it happen, Leo, and fast. David, I want you to oversee the reinforcement of our space stations. Turn them into fortresses if you must." As the preparations surged forward, Marcus initiated drills and simulations to keep the troops sharp. Every pilot, engineer, and soldier was pushed to their limits, preparing for the next confrontation. The inevitable came sooner than expected. Zephyrian forces launched a multi-pronged assault, targeting Earth's major space stations and satellite arrays. This time their approach was more calculated, using advanced cloaking technology to bypass early detection systems. The battle was fierce. Marcus coordinated the defense from the command center, his voice a constant presence over the comms. "Focus on Sector 4. Reinforcements are on the way. Hold the line." Space around Earth turned into a chaotic battlefield. Explosions lit up the darkness as human forces engaged the enemy with relentless vigor. Despite the improved preparations, the human losses mounted under the relentless assault. In one critical moment, a Zephyrian destroyer broke through the defensive perimeter, heading straight for the command station. Marcus watched the trajectory, his mind racing. "Harper, deploy the new pulse mines, now!" With precise timing, the mines detonated near the Zephyrian ship, disabling its engines and weapons systems. Human fighters quickly swarmed the immobilized craft, securing a critical victory that boosted the morale of Earth's defenders. Amidst the ongoing chaos, Marcus received a direct video call from President Carter, his face lined with concern. "Marcus, you've done well to hold them off, but we can't keep this up indefinitely. We need a more permanent solution." Marcus, his face grim, replied, "I'm aware, Mr. President. We may need to consider more drastic measures if we can't turn the tide soon." As the battle continued, Marcus's team worked tirelessly, analyzing every piece of data, every strategy that could possibly lead to a breakthrough. The global effort was unprecedented, uniting nations and peoples in a common cause like never before. As the last Zephyrian ship retreated from the latest skirmish, the command center, though strewn with reports of casualties and damages, also buzzed with a cautious optimism. Earth had survived another day, and with each battle, humanity's resolve only strengthened. Exhausted yet undeterred, Marcus stood before the large viewing window, looking out at the Earth. A blue and green oasis in the harshness of space, worth defending at all costs. He knew the war was far from over, but he also knew that humanity would never give up its home without a fight. The continuous assaults by the Zephyrian fleet left Earth's defenses strained and its people exhausted. Marcus Flynn, ever the strategist, realized that a change in tactics was essential. The open battles near Earth were taking a heavy toll, and a new approach was needed to turn the tide of the war. In the underground command center, Marcus gathered his top military leaders, including Colonel Harper, Dr. Liu Zheng, and representatives from allied nations. The holographic map of the solar system displayed the positions of both the human and Zephyrian fleets. "We can't keep taking them head-on," Marcus began, his tone decisive. "We need to lure them into a fight on our terms. The asteroid belt offers us the perfect terrain for guerrilla warfare. Colonel Harper nodded, understanding the strategy immediately. The asteroids provide natural cover. Our smaller, more agile ships can navigate through the field better than their larger cruisers. Leo, already thinking ahead, added, "We can also set traps, explosives, decoys, and perhaps even hijack a few asteroids to turn them into guided missiles." Marcus smiled at the suggestions. "Exactly. We'll hit them hard and fast, then disappear before they can retaliate. This will frustrate them and stretch their resources." The plan was set into motion. A fleet of Earth's fastest and most maneuverable ships, equipped with stealth technology and experimental weapons, set course for the asteroid belt. Among them were elite squadrons led by some of the best pilots humanity had to offer. The next few weeks saw intense preparation. Pilots and engineers worked around the clock, modifying ships and running simulations. The asteroid belt, once considered a dangerous and unpredictable region, became the focal point of humanity's counteroffensive. As the human fleet entered the asteroid belt, they set up a series of ambush points. Stealth drones were deployed to monitor Zephyrian movements, feeding real-time data back to Marcus and his team. The plan was to engage in hit-and-run tactics, using the asteroids for cover. The first encounter came sooner than expected. A Zephyrian scouting party, probing the asteroid belt, found themselves ambushed by human fighters. The battle was swift and decisive. Human ships darted in and out of the asteroid field, striking with precision and then vanishing into the rocky expanse. "Excellent work," Marcus commended over the comms. "This is exactly what we need to do. Keep them guessing. Keep them paranoid." The success of the initial skirmish emboldened the human forces. Over the next several days, they launched a series of attacks, each more daring than the last. The Zephyrian fleet, unable to maneuver as effectively in the dense asteroid field, suffered heavy losses. Frustration and confusion began to spread among their ranks. In one particularly daring raid, a squadron led by Captain Sarah Hayes infiltrated a Zephyrian supply convoy. Using modified mining equipment, they attached explosives to key supply ships, detonating them from a safe distance. The resulting chaos further disrupted the Zephyrian efforts to maintain a cohesive front. Back in the command center, Marcus monitored the progress with a mix of satisfaction and vigilance. "They're on the back foot now. We need to maintain this pressure, but we also need to be ready for their countermove." Leo, who had been analyzing the enemy's communications, brought up a new concern. "They're not going to stay in the asteroid belt for long. They'll try to draw us out or find a way to flush us out." Marcus nodded. "That's why we need to anticipate their moves. We'll create a false sense of security, make them think they've outsmarted us, then hit them harder than ever." The turning point came when the Zephyrians, desperate to regain control, launched a massive offensive into the heart of the asteroid belt. They sent out decoys and probes, hoping to lure the human fleet into a trap. But Marcus was ready. Using the very tactics they had honed, the human fleet feigned retreat, drawing the Zephyrians deeper into the asteroid field. Then, in a coordinated strike, they unleashed a barrage of hidden weapons, including explosive-laden asteroids and stealth fighters equipped with newly developed EMP devices. The ambush was devastating. Zephyrian ships were caught off guard, their systems crippled by the EMP blasts. Human fighters swarmed in, finishing off the disabled enemy vessels with ruthless efficiency. As the Zephyrian fleet began to retreat, broken and demoralized, Marcus allowed himself a moment of grim satisfaction. The guerrilla tactics had worked, and the enemy had been dealt a significant blow. But he knew the war was far from over. This victory was just one step in a long and arduous journey. With the immediate threat in the asteroid belt neutralized, Marcus and his team began planning their next move. Earth's defenders had proven their ingenuity and resilience, but the battle for the future was still unfolding. They would need every ounce of their courage and cunning to ensure humanity's survival. The success of the guerrilla campaign in the asteroid belt provided a much-needed boost to Earth's morale, but Marcus Flynn knew it was only a temporary reprieve. The Zephyrians, though battered, were far from defeated. Marcus's next move needed to be bold and decisive. He decided to take the fight directly to the Zephyrian command structure. In the command center, Marcus briefed his core team on the daring plan. "We've managed to gather enough intel on their command ships. If we can infiltrate one and steal their technology, we might find a way to turn this war around." Colonel Harper raised an eyebrow. "You're suggesting a direct infiltration of a Zephyrian command ship? That's nearly impossible." "Nearly," Marcus corrected. "But not completely. We have one chance to make this work. Leo, what do we know about their security protocols?" Dr. Liu Zheng stepped forward, displaying a hologram of the Xiphorian command ship. Their security is tight, but we've identified a few vulnerabilities. Their sensor arrays are particularly sensitive to certain types of interference. We can use this to our advantage. Marcus nodded. We'll need a small, elite team for this mission. Speed and stealth will be our best allies. As preparations began, the chosen team underwent intense training. Among them was Captain Sarah Hayes, who had proven her mettle in the asteroid belt skirmishes. She was to lead the infiltration, accompanied by a select group of the best operatives from different nations. The plan was to use a captured Xiphorian shuttle, modified with stealth technology and packed with advanced hacking tools. The team would sneak aboard the command ship, download critical data, and plant sabotage devices before making their escape. On the day of the mission, the tension in the command center was palpable. Marcus watched as the shuttle, cloaked and running silent, approached the Xiphorian fleet. All units, maintain radio silence. We can't afford to give away our position. Inside the shuttle, Captain Hayes and her team moved with practiced precision. The modified shuttle's stealth systems worked flawlessly, and they slipped past the outer defenses of the Xiphorian command ship. Remember the plan, Hayes whispered over the comms. In and out, no heroics. The team split into two groups upon boarding the ship. One group, led by Hayes, made their way to the central computer core to download the data. The other group, led by Lieutenant Raj Patel, set about planting sabotage devices in critical systems. As Hayes' team reached the computer core, they encountered their first real obstacle, a heavily guarded room with advanced biometric security. Using the intel gathered by Leo's team, they managed to bypass the locks and silently neutralize the guards. Leo, we're in, Hayes whispered into her comm. Beginning data extraction now. Leo's voice crackled back through the comm. Good, we've got a secure link. Start the download. Meanwhile, Patel's team meticulously planted explosives and EMP devices at key points throughout the ship. The Xiphorian security was tight, but the team's training and preparation paid off as they moved undetected. Back in the computer core, the download was almost complete when alarms began to blare. We've been detected, Hayes said urgently. Speed up the extraction. The command center back on Earth erupted into activity. Marcus leaned over Leo's shoulder. Can we boost the transfer speed? We're doing everything we can, Leo replied, fingers flying over his keyboard. With the download complete, Hayes' team made a hasty retreat, rendezvousing with Patel's group. We need to get out now, Hayes ordered. As they made their way back to the shuttle, the ship's corridors lit up with red warning lights, and the sound of approaching Xiphorian troops echoed through the halls. The team fought their way back, the element of surprise now lost. Prepare for takeoff, Hayes shouted as they boarded the shuttle. The craft lurched into motion, narrowly avoiding a closing bulkhead. Xiphorian fighters pursued them, but Earth's shuttle, with its enhanced stealth and speed, managed to evade the enemy and jump to hyperspace. Back in the command center, Marcus and his team watched the shuttle's progress anxiously. When it finally reappeared on Earth's radar, cheers erupted. They did it, Marcus said, relief washing over him. The data retrieved from the Xiphorian command ship was a treasure trove. It contained detailed blueprints of their ships, weaknesses in their technology, and most importantly, communication protocols that could be exploited. Leo's team worked around the clock to analyze the data. Marcus, we've found something, Leo announced. There's a critical flaw in their energy systems. If we can overload their main reactors, we could cause a chain reaction that would disable their entire fleet. Marcus's mind raced. We'll need to act quickly. Prepare the fleet for a counteroffensive. This is our chance to strike back and cripple them once and for all. With renewed determination, the human forces prepared for the decisive battle. The war had reached its turning point, and humanity, armed with newfound knowledge and unwavering resolve, stood ready to take the fight to the Xiphorians. The endgame was in sight, and Marcus Flynn was ready to lead the charge. After securing vital intelligence from the Xiphorian command ship, Marcus Flynn knew the time for Earth's decisive counterattack had come. The data revealed a systemic vulnerability in the Xiphorians' energy reactors, a flaw that could potentially disable their entire fleet if exploited correctly. With this knowledge, Marcus began to orchestrate what would be the largest and most critical offensive of the war. In the war room, filled with the top brass from various global forces, Marcus laid out the battle plan. A massive holographic display showed the positions and trajectories of all known Xiphorian ships, as well as the predicted rendezvous point near Mars, where the final confrontation would likely take place. Here's the strategy, Marcus explained, his voice clear and commanding. We'll use our entire fleet to launch a multi-phase attack. The first phase will involve feints and distractions to draw their forces out and spread them thin. During the second phase, our specialized units will target their main battle cruisers, exploiting the reactor vulnerability. Colonel Harper, looking over the plans, added, Our pilots are ready, Marcus. The modifications to their ships have been completed, incorporating the tech we captured. They can now engage the Zephyrians more effectively. Dr. Liu Zheng chimed in from his console. And the new EMP devices developed from the Zephyrian technology will disrupt their command communications during the attack, sowing further confusion and disarray. Marcus nodded. Good. Timing will be critical. We can't afford any delays. Once we commence, it has to be a swift, unrelenting push until we've broken their backbone. The days leading up to the battle were intense, with all forces undergoing rigorous drills and simulations. Marcus knew that every soldier, pilot, and technician needed to perform flawlessly for the plan to succeed. As D-Day approached, the global fleet assembled in high orbit around Earth, a sight both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Ships of all sizes, from nimble fighters to colossal carriers, formed up, ready to jump to Mars. Marcus addressed the troops via a broadcast, his demeanor calm, yet impassioned. Today we stand united as one force, one planet, against a threat that sought to end our very way of life. Remember, we're not just fighting for today, we're securing our future. For Earth, for humanity, we fight. The fleet jumped to Mars in staggered waves, appearing at different points around the planet to maximize strategic confusion among the Zephyrian ranks. As expected, the Zephyrians responded by dispatching their fleet to engage, unaware that they were falling right into Marcus's carefully laid trap. The battle near Mars was fierce and chaotic. Human forces engaged the Zephyrians with relentless aggression, pushing them back towards the predetermined kill zone. Meanwhile, the specialized units maneuvered into position, targeting the Zephyrian battlecruisers. Now! Marcus commanded over the fleet comm. At his signal, the units fired a series of synchronized shots at the identified weak points on the Zephyrian reactors. The impact was immediate and devastating. Several of the Zephyrian ships began to lose power, their energy systems overloaded and failing. In the midst of the battle, a massive explosion lit up the Martian sky as the flagship of the Zephyrian fleet succumbed to the reactor overload, creating a chain reaction that crippled nearby ships. The tide of battle turned sharply in favor of Earth's forces. Seeing their fleet in disarray, the remaining Zephyrian forces began a disorganized retreat. Marcus, watching the unfolding victory, allowed himself a brief smile. But his mind was already moving on to the next phase, securing the solar system and ensuring such a threat could never rise again. With the main Zephyrian fleet defeated and their command structure in ruins, the cleanup operations began. Human forces pursued the retreating enemy, capturing or destroying the remnants of their fleet. Back on Earth, celebrations broke out across every nation, every city. Humanity had faced its greatest threat and emerged victorious through unity and determination. But for Marcus, the war room was still abuzz with activity, planning for a future where Earth would need to rebuild and fortify its defenses, always vigilant against potential threats. As the dust settled, Marcus felt a profound sense of relief mixed with resolve. The war was over, but the task of guarding humanity's future had just begun. The final battle near Mars had marked a turning point in humanity's war against the Zephyrians. Their fleet, once a formidable force of terror, was now in ruins, scattered across the Martian orbit. Marcus Flynn, watching from the command center, knew that the victory was significant but not yet complete. He had to ensure no threat could rise from the ashes. In the aftermath, Marcus coordinated sweeping operations to secure the solar system. His primary focus was on capturing any remaining Zephyrian technology that could be reverse-engineered to bolster Earth's defenses and ensure no future surprises from other potential alien threats. Cleanup teams are reporting minimal resistance. Colonel Harper updated Marcus as they surveyed the operations on the holographic displays. Most of the Zephyrian ships are either destroyed or in no condition to fight. Marcus nodded, his expression somber. Keep the pressure on. I don't want any pockets of resistance turning into threats down the line. How are the salvage operations going? Dr. Liu Zheng, who had been instrumental in utilizing Zephyrian technology against them, replied, We've retrieved a substantial amount of tech. It's going to take years to fully understand and integrate it, but the initial assessments are promising. With the operational updates continuing to flow in, Marcus's thoughts briefly wandered to the costs of this war. So many lives lost, so many brave souls who wouldn't return home. He knew that each decision he had made, each command, had weighty consequences. But the freedom and security of Earth required those hard choices. The global reaction was one of relief and burgeoning hope. News channels across the world broadcasted scenes of jubilation. People from all walks of life celebrated the victory that had been bought with such high sacrifices. Marcus watched the celebrations from a screen in the corner of the room, his face unreadable. President Carter called in, his image appearing on another screen. "Marcus, you've done it. You've saved Earth. There will be honors, parades." Marcus cut him off, gently but firmly. "Thank you, Mr. President, but let's remember the cost at which this came. We need to prepare for the future, ensure this never happens again." Carter nodded, understanding the weight of Marcus's words. "You're right. We start rebuilding and fortifying. You'll have all the resources you need. The United Nations is calling for a formation of a new planetary defense organization. I want you to lead it." The offer was expected, but it weighed heavily on Marcus. Leading the planetary defense meant safeguarding the future, a task he was prepared to take on, despite the personal toll it had already taken on him. As the cleanup and recovery operations progressed, Marcus organized a memorial for the fallen. It was broadcasted worldwide, uniting the planet in a moment of grief and remembrance. "We owe them this peace," Marcus spoke at the ceremony. "Our guardians who sacrificed everything. We will honor them not just today, but by living every day striving for a better, united Earth." With the Xiphorian threat neutralized, Earth began the slow process of rebuilding. New alliances were forged, focusing on mutual defense and technological advancement. Humanity had learned a hard lesson on the importance of unity and preparedness. Months later, Marcus stood at the helm of the newly established United Earth Defense Organization. From the new command center orbiting Earth, he watched over the planet. The job was never-ending, the responsibility enormous, but Marcus was not alone. He had the best and brightest from around the globe working with him. As Marcus looked out at Earth from the viewing deck, a sense of calm resolve settled over him. They had faced annihilation and prevailed. Now they would work together to protect their home, a blue jewel in the vast universe, forever vigilant, but forever hopeful. The war had changed humanity, and from those fires, a new era of unity and exploration emerged. Under Marcus Flynn's watchful command, Earth was not just surviving, it was thriving.